Hello, nerds! Nerds for Yang. Big update this week. The first thing is we need to acknowledge that we have raised 10K for the Nerds for Yang link.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020.
So we absolutely met the challenge of raising 10 to get Andrew on the show, and as we speak, I am working with members of his campaign to schedule it. I think it's gonna look like end of August, but let's see, and I'll update for sure everybody once we get the final date. So thank you to everybody who donated to the campaign through our link. I know that was like a little bit of extra work, and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is really gonna pan out. A lot of people were first-time donors, so thank you so much for that. And thank you for being part of the Yang Gang and moving this campaign forward, as well as helping the Nerds for Yang channel get access to this very, very important guest. Because we're definitely going to get him on the channel, don't forget to vote up the questions you want to see asked. There's a link below to the community tab where we ask people to suggest questions and I propose some myself, and you can just thumbs up the ones you like the most. I also put together just a quick shortcut, which is tinyurl.com/nfy-questions. So you can either go directly there or you just look for the link in the description below and vote up what you want us to talk with Andrew about. Since we won't have a ton of time with him, I'll try and hit, the top 3 to 5 that I can get to. Next, update on polls. So there's only been one poll that happened since the debate, and that was the Politico Morning Consult poll. And on that one, we are coming in at 2. Here's the polls all the way from June to present. What you'll see here is the stuff that I've highlighted in red is sort of that zone where we were in, where Andrew would sometimes poll at 0. And the highlighted stuff in yellow is basically since around mid-July, he's only come in at 2, 3, or 1 at the lowest. So I think we can finally say that 0 is no longer in the Yang 2020 campaign vocabulary, at least as of this taping. Who knows what the other polls will do, but I think the other polls will benefit from the CNN bounce, so I suspect that we'll be more in the 3+ range, but we'll see. TLDR on polls is looking strong, looking solid, clearly ahead of Castro, Delaney, Steyer, Ryan, definitely challenging Booker, in many cases ahead of Booker. And then Beto keeps hanging in there. I mean, he had a very high foundation that he started with after he announced his campaign, but I think we're chipping away at that lead as well. And then, you know what? When you think about Pete Buttigieg, he's only at 6. So it's not like he's this juggernaut that's racing ahead. And then Harris, she's only at 10. So this is pretty much anybody's race. So Biden is obviously the leader in this race, but not by that much. It's not like he's at 50 and then there's a bunch of also-rans. So race is still open in my opinion, and we are definitely trending up. In fact, if you look at Twitter growth after the debate, you'll see that guess who got the most increase in Twitter followers after the CNN debate? It was Yang, 25,000. Gabbard, credit to her for dismantling Harris. I gotta give credit to Gabbard. She is so calm and so centered in her kind of like demeanor on that debate stage. It's super impressive. It's very different than the vibe you get from Gillibrand. Who else has been growing? Williamson grew 17,000. Warren grew 14,000. Mayor Pete grew 10,000. Harris grew 6,800, and so on. But when you look at this chart, if you didn't know, you would think that Yang is like leading in the whole campaign. So hopefully interest on Twitter is a leading indicator that will translate into eventually the polls. That is not a crazy theory because that's how he's kind of number 6 out of 24 right now in the polls. If you look at Google searches, Kamala Harris, definitely a lot of interest in her in terms of the last few days over this CNN debate period. But you also see that Tulsi Gabbard and Yang both have almost, even though the mainstream media keeps talking about Booker as this amazing candidate, he has only 1/3 of the Google search activity compared to Yang and 1/5 of what Harris has. And then Castro is 1/6 of Yang and 1/10 of Harris. So TLDR on the Google search activity is that you're getting more search interest for Yang than Cory Booker and Julian Castro, but not as much as Harris. And then hats off again to Tulsi Gabbard, who really drove a lot of interest from her performance. YouTube searches. So one of the Nerds for Yang viewers in the comments said, hey, next time you do the Google search stuff, filter it by YouTube searches and you'll see a different story. So I did, and wow, what a different story it is. So if you take the position that people looking for a candidate on YouTube may even be a stronger signal than Google searches or Twitter followers, because maybe you could argue, wow, someone's searching on YouTube, they're really interested in learning, or they're super enthusiastic, they might be like binging on content from one candidate, then you definitely see Andrew Yang leading the pack here. I mean, he is dominating. He is number one. There are more people searching for Andrew Yang on YouTube than there are people searching for Harris, Gabbard, Biden, Mayor Pete. I will say Mayor Pete is a strong second, so we got to give him some credit there, at least in the last week or so. So I think his debate performance paid off. But Yang is definitely the king of YouTube interest at the moment. And then if you dig deeper and you look at YouTube interest in Iowa, you see that while Yang has great national interest, when you go down to Iowa, he is not number one. He's tied with Mayor Pete and a little bit less than Biden and Harris in the Des Moines, Ames, Iowa metro area. And there are certainly other parts of Iowa where he may have more interest, but I'm not predicting a huge upset for Yang in Iowa based on the YouTube activity. New Hampshire, on the other hand, more interesting. So New Hampshire, you can only look at the metro areas that kind of border other states, unfortunately. So you've got Portland, Auburn, Maine, Burlington, Vermont, Plattsburgh, New York, and Boston, Mass, Manchester. If you focus on Boston, Mass, Manchester metro area, you see that he's a strong number two. Biden is number one. And then you've got Yang, and then behind Yang, you have Mayor Pete and Harris. So you could argue that maybe if this Boston, Mass, Manchester, New Hampshire metro area is an indication, Yang could be a surprise. Next, betting odds. Okay, so what is the big takeaway with the gamblers? They were not impressed with Harris. She took a big dive. She's this brown line here that basically peaks after the first debate and then had slowly been withering since that first debate. And then after the second debate, she took a big dive, a 9 percentage point drop. Yang, on the other hand, you see a nice growth of 0.7 percentage points, so going from 3 to 3.7. And he's this nice kind of purplish pinkish line down at the bottom. If you look at the whole chart on the right-hand side, what you see is you see this brown crashing line, that's Harris. You see this blue surging line, which is Biden, who's basically has been digging his way out of the hole ever since the first debate. You got to give credit to Warren. Warren is like the little engine that could. There's no swings like Harris and Biden. She's just kind of constantly pushing forward, and she's number two. Then you have Sanders. Sanders is a green line. He's kind of struggling. He kind of peaked in May, and he's been on a downward slope ever since. A little bit of a bump, up 2 percentage points after the second debate, so credit to him there. And then you have Yang, which is that reddish purple line. The top of the bottom clump. When we were in the thick of the clump, we wanted to get out of the clump. Well, now we're at the top of the clump, and I think it's not a huge leap of faith to see us jumping into that Mayor Pete area, because Mayor Pete's not polling that well. Mayor Pete's polling at 6%. So we're at 2 to 3. I don't think that's a crazy leap, considering that we were at 0 just a few months ago. Okay, final chart. Here it is from the 538 blog, and this shows number of words spoken by each candidate. And you see here, Yang is third from the bottom. Biden, Harris, and Warren are the top three. So what can we say about this? Well, number one, he definitely talked more than he did in the NBC debates, because he was asked to comment more. As you remember, for the NBC debates, he was asked 2 questions, and I think on this one it was probably like at least 5 or 6. Link below to a video that kind of shows all of the segments of Yang's answers. That's fantastic. Still, he didn't get called on as much as many of the other candidates, especially the Harris-Biden thing. Like, they were clearly, the moderators were looking for this heavyweight fight. But ultimately, when you look at the ratios, you see here Yang had 1,700 words spoken, and Biden and Harris had between 3,000 and 4,000. So he was actually like close to half of the top 2. And I think in the previous debates, he had like 3 minutes and they had like 10 plus. So definitely like a much healthier ratio. So you got to give credit to CNN for trying to get everybody in. And so maybe they saw what happened with the NBC debacle and knew that we would all be watching. So in summary for this week, number 1, we are getting Andrew Yang on this channel, and he is going to say, "Hello, nerds!" Nerds for Yang.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020.
Oh my God. That is going to be awesome. Number 2, don't forget to vote up the questions that you want me to ask him at tinyurl.com/nfy-questions or link below and just thumbs up the questions that you like. And you could also submit new ones and see if other people vote those up. Number 3, we are out of the 0 zone on the polling. We are the fastest growing campaign in terms of Twitter audience. We are the number 1 campaign in terms of YouTube search activity. And we are ready to kick some ass in that 3rd debate. We do need one more poll that is recognized by the DNC where we get 2% or more before the end of August. I imagine that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be too hard, but we'll kind of lock that in when the actual poll comes out. So fingers crossed there. Thanks again to everybody who contributed to the 10,000 goal. We would not be able to do this without this amazing Nerds for Yang Nation. Before you go, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments, I would be most curious about any types of topics in terms of policy deep dives you're most interested in. Personally, I would love to do a policy deep dive on education reform and maybe election reform with the democracy dollar stuff. Or I could do one on healthcare, which I know is on everybody's mind. So let me know what's of interest to you guys. I know these state of the race videos are popular as well. I'll keep doing them, but I'm not sure that it makes sense to do them every week. Obviously, we did this one because the debate just happened. So you guys keep it real, nerd power, and see you next time.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. Let's get this bread. Freedom dividend. Are all y'all paying attention? Automation gonna sweep the nation unless we get him in. Andrew Yang 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. First we get this money, then on 420, he gonna give some high fives to some high guys. Decriminalize marijuana so we can smoke if we wanna. Down with the opioid trend, up with the mental health thing. Yeah, math, yo, it's just math. Yo, it's simple math. Yo, can you do math? Yo, yo. Eliminate super PACs, color stars making stacks. Student loan forgiveness plan. Cops wearing cameras and climate change is real again. Science rules. Teachers bringing home some bread. Medicare for every citizen. Andrew Yang 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. Yo, a vote for anyone else is like negative $1,000 from your pocket every month.